everyone, and welcome to American Scousers Premier League panel show. I am back in action. Mecca was filling in the chair. God knows what he did with you guys, but I'm shocked everybody's back. We have a four square over here. We have Shay with Villa, Alex with Fulham, and Sully with Newcastle, and obviously Timuchin here as your host with Liverpool. A lot to talk about. I just realized literally as we were getting ready over here that you guys all had games this weekend. And actually, my boys were the only ones who did not have games. So we'll do the usual. I do want to talk a lot about the couple of issues. I'm sure once we get to Newcastle, Sully will go on for like 20 minutes. So we'll walk away. We'll come back once he's done with VAR and stuff. But we'll talk about like FFP and all that kind of stuff with obviously Everton and Forest getting in trouble again. But let's hit the scores first and then go with that. I actually missed this. Brian actually, who is not normally like a soccer guy, but we talk like I'm his soccer agent. Basically, he relays all soccer stuff to me. He was actually talking about Burnley won, Luton Town won. I don't know if you guys watched this game. I cannot recall the specific incidents, but as I watched it, I remember saying Burnley got screwed. And actually, I got a text today saying I guess JJ Watt was on the McAfee show talking about bitching about VAR and stuff. Alex, you're nodding, so I'm assuming. Do you remember the incident? I remember seeing it and saying Burnley got screwed on this.
Yeah, I think it was in the death, right? It was in stoppage time at the end, and it's one of those situations where I think even if you're a Luton fan, you look at that and go like, okay, I'm glad it went in, but like, kind of at what cost? Like this, it's clearly a foul. I don't know how anybody can look at it and say that it wasn't a foul, especially when I think Vincent Kompany talked about it. You see Adebayo take a look at the keeper, look at the ball, and then put his button to him. Like
that's right. That's what it was. Yep.
That's a box out, and we can have a discussion of if keepers should be specially defended like they are or not. That's for another discussion. But like into the rules, yeah, you can't do that. I mean, it is what it is, and it's not a dirty play. It's not a bad play. It's Adebayo looking for an advantage, but it's against the rules. So I don't know how else to.
Now I remember the incident because we were even talking in Discord. It was like a basketball screen. I don't know if you saw it, Shay, but that's even illegal in basketball because it was a moving screen.
Yeah, I didn't get to see it. I mean, I saw all the backlash from it, and then JJ Watt fully understanding what we go through all the time now. So I was like, hey, he's getting the full owner English experience now. I love it. Yeah, like how Alex said, you can't box out in basketball. Like the fact that he looked the guy in the face and then just like, yeah, I'm just going to do this anyway. And VAR is like,
he's not even looking at the ball. I remember the incident now. He almost like looks there. He's like, this is not happening. So where is the goalie? And then he kind of blocks him in. But I'm sure we'll get to more refereeing as we go over here. But I found that interesting. I had not gone back. I literally got the text like an hour before the show. So I got to tomorrow go online and watch and see what he said. I guess he was talking about how crazy the VAR system is. Then again, watching NFL playoffs, I can say a lot of crazy stuff about what goes on there too. So, it's not like, oh, it's so great over here, kind of an ordeal. Everybody has their own issues. Chelsea 1, Fulham 0.
Second on that one.
I'm sure this was extra painful.
What a joke. I'll keep it brief, but we want to talk about VAR. What a joke. I don't know if anybody can see the tackle that Malagusto put on Willian there. I 10 out of 10 times it's a red card. I don't understand how VAR can look at it. I guess they looked at it, did a badge check, and said, all right, never mind, keep moving. I genuinely don't understand how Malagusto is still on the pitch. It's one of those things that sounds like sour grapes because, less than 10 minutes later, Fulham give up a cheap penalty that, of course, yes, it's a pen, obviously. Raheem Sterling did what he does and made the absolute most of it. But it's a penalty, and of course it is. But less than 10 minutes before that, you got a guy who should have been off the pitch. And then he posted on Instagram and took it down later. Just disgust. I don't know how. I have no idea how he's not sent off. If you've seen the replay, I'd love to hear if anyone in the universe thinks that that's not a red card. But I don't know. There's nothing to say about it. I don't know.
Did any of you guys see it? I have not seen it, to be honest with you. I have not seen the highlights from this game.
I didn't see it, but we also had one very similar to Alex, so I'll discuss it in just a second.
And I think
it was a bad day for officiating again.
Yeah.
Go figure.
And it's one of those arguments where you can look at it and say, technically, I think he may have a little bit gotten to the ball first. But that's the thing. Every single player, when they get whistled for a foul, is like, ref, ball. Yeah. Just because you get to the ball first, you can't just come in studs up, nick the ball, and then break a dude's ankle and be like, I got to the ball. That's all ball. No, dude, you come in recklessly studs up. That's a foul. I don't know. especially in this Premier League, in this climate of like player safety and that kind of thing. If Willian's foot is planted in the ground, his ankle's broken. And luckily he wasn't coming up a little bit, so it's able to flex. But I don't know. I don't know anymore.
How about you, Sully? You were about to say something.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I think this game was a perfect microcosm of both Fulham and Chelsea. Chelsea not being able to score unless it's from the spot, and Fulham.
We are losing him.
Still lagging?
You're back.
Yeah, you're coming in and out. You're good now. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I was going to say this is a perfect microcosm of Chelsea and Fulham's season. Like, yeah, Chelsea not being able to score unless they get these PKs, unless they get a free kick, not being able to put goals in from open play, and Fulham hanging on. And it's such a disservice. And I'll probably bring this back up when we get to the FFP stuff. But like, come on, you have to allow these like bottom tier. Or I shouldn't say bottom tier. These mid-table teams. Yeah. These mid-tier teams.
Like, about Chelsea. It's okay, Alex.
Yeah. Fulham competed the whole time. The whole time.
Yeah. And it should have been 10-11. I mean, it should have been like it should have been 10-11. And I don't know how I don't know. Yeah.
Nice.
Honestly, it's two mediocre teams. It was two mediocre teams battling it out, and one of them got a penalty and not a red card, and the other didn't. And that's the end of the day, which feels good to say. Like, we know we're mediocre, but to say that about Chelsea feels pretty good. Those clowns.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's the thing with Sterling. Like, everybody knows he's going to make a meal of it. So it's almost like there's this clear shield around him, and he knows. So when he's in the box, nobody can get close to him, because if you cough anywhere near him, he's just going to, like, fall and dive and fly off and stuff like that. You would think, I know, like, going back to Newcastle, from his Everton days, Gordon was like the biggest diver of all time. And I feel like I don't see that as much now in Newcastle. He was doing it nonstop in Everton. You would think after a while, a player's reputation comes out. And I think Gordon's did, and maybe he reacted to it. Sterling is almost like making a meal of it. Like, he's like, that's great. I have a reputation. I fall kind of a thing. And just earning like cheap penalties ever since his freaking City days, really. At least then we were saying it's City cheating as always. Now I don't know what it is. Newcastle 2, City 3. This was actually an excellent weekend overall. Otherwise, with Tottenham drawing, Villa drawing. I mean, for Liverpool, I'm saying. And this was going so freaking great until freaking 30 seconds to go there, Sully. What the heck happened? Apart from Kevin De Bruyne showing.
See you guys in a minute.
Well, I mean, okay. I'll start with Kevin De Bruyne. Like, what is going on in the City medical facilities where somebody can come back looking like that after 6-8 months off?
Yep.
Like, he completely turned that game around. That game, like, Newcastle was holding their own. De Bruyne comes on the field and it's just like, guys, we're City. We're gonna win this game.
Class.
Yeah, the league's in trouble. The league is in trouble with De Bruyne back. Like, I don't think there's any two ways to look at it. However, the previous 75 minutes of that game, the first goal City scored, obvious miss on a foul. I think it was Ruben Diaz hammered Gordon out of bounds. Hammered it.
Oh, yeah.
No foul. Throw in for City. 30 seconds later. Beautiful goal. Beautiful goal. Taking nothing away from the goal. It shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. And that was, I was kind of hearing it from buddies I was texting with, that like I was being a typical crybaby from Newcastle. But these mistakes were happening inside that critical build-up window. It was not right before a goal was scored. It was the thing that started the build-up to that goal. And then the second one, or I should say the third goal, they had, or not the third goal, the second goal, the goal that tied it up. Free kick. They moved it up about 8 or 10 yards from where the foul was taken, bomb it into the box. We can't clear it. There's your goal. Like
Yeah.
obvious little mistakes, and it's not things that VAR would have checked. Like I don't think the tackle was a red card, maybe a yellow. But I would have been fine with just a normal standard foul. But 2 terrible calls gave City their goals, and it could have been 3-1. I think Timogen, your boy Isak missed a sitter, missed
Yes,
one
he
that
did.
he should have had. So that game really should have been 3-1. And the bad news keeps coming. Joel Linton done for the season. Joel Linton getting thigh surgery, done for the year. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know where we go from here. We held our own, but goodness gracious, like at this point,
Tonali curse.
it seriously is. It
Yeah.
seriously is. I mean, like maybe we can get some extra FFP money with Tonali winning some bets, like if Newcastle's tanking these games. Like seriously. So it was very, very frustrating. It was very frustrating. We made what's his face? Kyle Walker look terrible for most of the game. 2 beautiful goals that were from the exact same spot.
Yep.
Now with KDB coming back, the flip side of that is City losing their starting keeper. That's something to keep an eye on. That is
How
going
long is he out for? Actually, I forgot to follow up on that.
I've not checked that either, but keep an eye on it. He came out pretty quick. He tried to get up and play, and about a minute or 2 later, he was down again and had to come off. So,
And if you're a City fan, I mean, there's like 10 of them out there. I'm sure those guys are really upset because that came from a really, 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 really late flag not going up.
well, nine of those 10 didn't know City played this weekend. They just looked at the results the next day.
Depending on who's starting for him, you're gonna have either Scott Carson, who's old as dirt and has a gap, wide enough as the goal box, or they're gonna play some youth kids. So,
Yeah.
it's the time to capitalize on City for that.
Yes, actually, that was
Shoot.
one. As we were watching, and honestly, once City scored, I thought that game was done and over. I was like, well, there goes that, because I thought Newcastle could hang in, but didn't think Newcastle can come back and take the lead or anything like that. And then we were all excited. Then we were like, hey, we'll even take the draw. But then we knew, as we were following the game in the Discord channel, they were like, they still have KDB to come in. Like, we knew they had one more card to play. And really, he was not supposed to play that long. Maybe, hopefully, he'll have like some after effects or something like that. By the way, we are on Instagram as well now. So if you thought I'll avoid these bozos and just hang out on Instagram instead, the joke's on you. We're live on Instagram now too. Steve says, I saw the funniest meme the other day with a side-by-side of Sterling running and Velma from Scooby-Doo running exactly the same way. Yeah, good old Sterling. Okay, this next one over here. Honestly, I was kind of shocked. A lot of Liverpool fans were watching this, and even the ones that would normally root against Everton and stuff like that were kind of like rooting for Everton.
Oof.
I mean, I don't yet watch Villa hoping they lose points like I watch a City game or an Arsenal game or whatever, but what do you make of that results?
So when I just watched the goal again. Crazy, like literally that much offside is what they called it for. But also I was talking about earlier about just, dangerous tackles and, you're on borrowed time. Tarkowski got a yellow, I think, in the first half. And then second half, I think it was like 70th or 80th minute, goes in on probably one of the worst challenges possible. Was a clear and obvious, quote unquote professional foul. Didn't get anything for it. I was like, any other player would have been sent off for that. I think that would have made a huge difference. They had like 2 or 3 that like that. And like how you said, I think they're honestly playing true to Sean Dyche's tactics. Just beat the shit out of everybody, literally, flying into tackles. I was getting flashbacks to whenever he coached Burnley and he broke basically our striker's leg in half. Ben Mee did it. I was like, here you go. We're seeing the same things again.
Yep, I remember they injured Gomez. I mean, they're
a dirty team. I was a dirty coach. There's no sugarcoating it. Like all his teams play the same kind of style. But from my friend said when he watched it, we should have won the game. We had plenty of chances to finish. It's just we just can't find goals at the moment, unfortunately. So hopefully after the window they can figure it out. A little bit of rest and then see who they're trying to bring in. I don't know.
Yeah, I want to get at the end and get your guys' take on what you guys think will happen, expect to want to happen in this window, that we're almost halfway through.
Yeah.
And it's been going really fast without a lot of rumors, which has actually been nice. United 2, Tottenham 2. We actually had a live watch along for this one. I wasn't able to join, but when I saw the scoreline, I was like, we picked a good game to do a live watch along. Looks like an exciting one. But then I joined in the last 15 minutes of the broadcast, and they were like, yawn. The only 4 minutes, that was the only 4 exciting moments of the game, kind of thing, except from like the last minute sitter. Obviously, Jake is not here to get his take on it, but is that? And I'll ask you, Alex. Is that who's happier with that result?
I mean, I think based on form and like spot in the table, United has to be happy with that result. I think it sucks for them that they were in like a winning position. I think Tottenham scored not long after our United's second win in, so that's disappointing at home. But for a team like United that has really fallen off, it's certainly the championship race, obviously, and then really starting to kind of has fallen off the Champions League spots. I don't know, to get a point at home against a team several points ahead in the table is never a terrible point. So,
how about you, Sully? I mean, Sully, Shay, did you guys get to watch the game at all? Like, so I just followed it from the watch along the last 15, 20 minutes. And I know United missed like a big opportunity towards the end, but it sounded like it was kind of like a no action game aside from goals.
I had a buddy who was actually at the game. A guy I teach with took a year off and is kind of on sabbatical touring the world, and he was actually at that game. Huge Tottenham fan. So he said it was awesome. He said the atmosphere in the stadium was good. Now, I did have to criticize him, though. What is Tottenham doing bringing back Timo Werner? How does Timo Werner continue to get jobs in the Premier League? Oh, my goodness. That miss he had was
the one. We all know the one. The one, yeah.
He's back. He's back.
Yeah,
like,
same.
Oh my God. Just like sign Bentner off the street if you're gonna put up results like that. Like unbelievable. Like he is one of the most baffling players because you watch him play for Leipzig and you're like, this guy could play anywhere for anybody. He shows up in England and it is just no idea. It looks like he's been at the pub before every game and doesn't actually know where the goal is. He's shooting at 4 or 5 goals, like just terrible. But I thought it was a well played game. Boring, but those 4 moments of brilliance were very entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, with Werner, I'll be honest. Like when he went to Chelsea, there was a lot of talk, as there always is, of like him coming to Liverpool, like Liverpool interested, blah, 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 whether it was true or not, the German connection, blah, blah, blah. And I really wanted him at the time because I felt like he would fit the Liverpool system. Like he could be on a wing, use his speed, cut in at a striker at the same time. He's good on the ball and stuff like that. And then you saw him in Chelsea, you were like, whew, that was close. And then, because that was a lot of money. And then he goes back to Germany. He goes back to the old Timo again. And then now he comes back. Is it just Shay? Do you think Tottenham says that's Chelsea? Everybody looks bad over there. So why not roll the dice?
I just like how Sully said. For some reason he just can't do it in this league. Like he'll do everything right, but when it comes to the biggest part, the lights just start flashing, and he literally loses it. Like I don't understand. The goal's pretty damn big too. It's not like it's small. We're not playing them mini goals. Like he blows it every time. So it's almost like, telling all these pictures, like, hey, if Timo gets the ball, he's probably going to miss every chance that he makes. So,
Shay, have you ever seen those videos where they show, like, slowly but surely the goal extending to show how big it would have to be?
Yep.
It's going to be damn near the corner flag when that video comes out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at the standings as of now. Obviously, I just realized this. Liverpool is the only one out of all 4 of us playing this weekend away to Bournemouth. Big game, tough game because Bournemouth can score goals. I'm slightly worried about that one, but it was good to get the boys some rest. So there's also that. So Liverpool on top, down to 2 points now with the games being even. Villa is up there at 43. Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham United. Shay, how do you like them? How do you like where you guys are sitting right now?
Oh, I mean, I love it. It's looking pretty. They just got to maintain. Like I said, right now we're in a little goal slump. just got to get Ollie firing back again, and hopefully somebody else, maybe Leon and Diaby, can start kicking back up again. They were hot there in December. I know it's only 17 days, but the last 3 games I haven't really scored anything. So not worried truly, because this is over exceeding my expectations. So just maintain the top 6. I'll be more than ecstatic. So
he's here for a good time, not a long time.
yeah, so I'm just here for a good time. I'm just enjoying it. Everybody's freaking out, like, oh my God, Villa's doing well.
He's all about vibes.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we come to the middle of the table over there. Newcastle is below Chelsea. How concerning is that, Sully? Especially with it's almost. I mean, obviously you see the recent form there. You know, in one of our morning shows on Fridays, we have Anand, and he made this prediction that Eddie Howe would not finish I could have sworn he said the year. I guess now we're deciding that he said he would not finish the season. And at the time, we laughed it off. He follows a lot of news from like Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. That like follows the league over there and stuff. And I mean, he knows Arabic, so he can read those sources. And he was like, dude, I'm telling you, if he doesn't have a good run, and now with being out of Europe and everything, do you think he is in danger, or the guy next to him who actually does the managing, is he in danger? Eddie is just there for show. He look pretty, but
Yeah, I don't think you could use Tyndall as a sacrificial lamb. I think that's when the lamb bites you back if you go after him exclusively. But
I think Eddie Howe is the lamb.
I find very interesting. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's the sheepdog behind him. What's going to be very interesting is Jose Mourinho is looking for a job now. That's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. That's a quality manager. That's somebody who low-key plays kind of a Newcastle style, and sort of what we need to do, kind of park the bus, not really go on the attack for the rest of the season, kind of just grind out wins. I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens here in the next couple of weeks. That Sunderland win is huge. And, I keep bringing up FFP. There's a lot of talk that Newcastle is not spending right now because they're seeing what's happened to Everton, to Forest. And so it might be Eddie's between a rock and a hard place. He's got all these injuries, can't bring anybody in. He might have to fall on the sword. I don't know. I still think he's our guy. But it's been thrown into a lot more doubt. And especially,
how can Eddie be between a rock and a hard place? Wouldn't Tyndall be at least on one side cushioning the thing? Since he is there at all times next to him.
He's at LA Tan.
Next to Ben White, probably.
Yeah.
So, getting his tan. So actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because we did talk about that in this morning show about Mourinho. Would Newcastle fans want that? I know what you're saying now. You have to park the bus and then win points that way. But I got news for Newcastle fans. That will be the plan next season, and the season after that, and the season after that, because that's how he rolls, especially after watching this Newcastle team. Would Newcastle fans be up to that?
That's a great question. And I think it'd be one of those things where it would be a shot in the arm, because it's like, oh my God, we've got Jose Mourinho in here. We've got the special one. He's not the best in the world, but there's nobody better than him, But having watched Jose the last few years, I think the game's almost passed him by, especially at a league level. I could see him, and what really Roma kind of screwed him. He should have taken the Portugal job. Because at this point, he should be an international manager where you're not having to play every single week. A team can develop to your tactics. It's a new thing every single time you play. And yeah, I don't know. It'd be nice to get a name, but it would also feel kind of desperate at the same time, just going out and paying the money to get Jose Mourinho. So I don't know. I also don't think we have the back line to, park the bus every time. I mean, Dan Burns the size of a bus, but he can't do that for, the rest of the season.
Size of a bus standing on his nose. Yeah.
Harry Maguire to Newcastle. You heard it here first.
There it is. Harry to Newcastle. Perfect player to park the bus.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We were talking about that in terms of like how well he would fit. and how he got really screwed at Tottenham before. Like he takes him to a final, to the club that has never won a trophy, and they can him before the final, which makes like zero sense. He's like, I almost got you guys there to the promised land. But yeah, I think he's still a good manager. Yeah, I do understand what you mean though, in terms of like, does his method still fit this slightly more spoiled new generation of players? Because he's almost a bit too honest. It feels like so. But yeah, 10th now under Chelsea. I don't think. I mean, this is how weird the season can be, right? I don't think any of us thought about this when we were like 2 months ago, when we were looking at the standings and stuff like that. Fulham 13 over there, but I mean, I think ultimately sitting pretty still, right? Especially you look around and everybody is literally like tripping over FFP and stuff like that.
Yeah, especially it's a good year for the bottom of the league to just be, and I know it looks a little bit tighter than it is, but for the bottom of the league to be as bad as it is, it's a good year for Fulham to have a season like this, especially with FFP. We'll come on that later, I think, Sully and everyone, but I think Fulham have been weirdly quiet, and I think that has a lot to do with what they've seen happen with Everton and now with Forest maybe and everything. So this is a good year to not spend and just kind of ride it out.
Yeah, so let's talk about that January a little bit, and then obviously that's automatically gonna take us to FFP, I think, because Newcastle, for example, when we were thinking Mourinho, you were like, hey, give Mourinho a Saudi budget, and then he can go to town with it. Well, there goes that Saudi budget, so I don't know if Mourinho is going to be big on that. But yeah, I mean, let's go around. Everybody is going to be, and I'm glad, really glad. Better late than never. Hopefully, eventually we'll come to City's 189 or whatever the hell they have now charges as well. I think it's eventually going to come there. But you can kind of tell the screws are being tightened. It's being done a lot faster. So everybody's kind of like, they're like, hold on, we're not going to get in trouble, right? Everybody's calling the accountant into the office to make sure like they're good. Shay, how is Villa sitting? Would they need to sell? Can they buy? Do they need to buy?
I think, same with how Sully was saying, with just FFP. I think that everybody's being cautious. There were some rumors, like if we end up having to sell somebody, we will, and just have to replace them. Now spending, you have to maybe spend wisely. So you may see them going for the younger kids at this point, just to build the academy to free up funds. I think that's what all these teams are going to have to do. It's good and it's bad because it's going to force teams to actually invest in the youth squads and bring some kids up before they're 18, 19, sell them without overspending. Like, I think City has ruined that for everybody. And that's what I was just to bring up. They actually found out the date for their charges, if that's actually going to, come into fruition. I was trying to find the date of it. But
what is it, like February 30th
next
or something?
Year. But
sorry, what was that, Sully?
Was it like February 30th? Like, give me a break.
I don't. Yeah, like, they literally said they're found out. I don't see an actual date for it. They just said, hey, they.
Yeah, I know. Like,
Man City learned the date for FFP case, but there's no actual
there is
date.
a date set,
Yeah,
but he
they just
cannot
don't know
tell
yet.
you that date.
Yeah. Hey, the date's set. We'll tell you when. Like, thank you. But yeah, I think it comes to it. Like, we may or may not spend this in January just to keep the budget low. Like you said, they see what happened with Everton about to get charged again, which is kind of hilarious. They deserve after this last game. Forest, and then finding out one of the other richest teams in the world, Newcastle, are basically like, hey, we can't spend any money either. Let's not do it. So they may end up selling in the summer and then go from there.
Shea is hoping that FFP goes after Tarkowski at this point.
Take another 5 points from Everton. They deserve it. I was on their side earlier in the season, but not for last week.
That would almost becomes like quite a nail in the coffin too, I think, because initially, I think that points like the 10-point deduction, which, there was talk about, they'll go to appeal, maybe they'll lower it and stuff like that. And I don't think anything in the appeal, they're going to be like, it got even worse. But I think that was almost like like a battle cry. Like everybody kind of like got after it. They're like, hey, Tampa, we can fight this. We can fight FFP. And like they felt it was unfair and stuff. But then you come back and, kick him in the teeth again. I don't know if they're going to recover from that. Alex, how is Fulham sitting money-wise, transfer-wise? Where are we at?
I think Fulham, despite the welcome resurgence of Raul Jimenez, I think everyone is happy. No one with a heart is not happy to see him put a few balls in the back of the net. So it's exciting to see him play well, but Fulham desperately need a striker. They desperately need a forward in. There are rumors that they had reached an agreement with Andre, the Brazilian midfielder, but it's January 17th, and I have no idea where that stands. So we'll see. Fulham do their deals on deadline anyway, so we'll see. But Fulham are not in a ton of trouble in terms of they need to bring someone in. That's the benefit of sitting in 13th there with like not a ton of jeopardy about going down. They're not going to make Europe, so it's this year is always kind of like a let's just ride it out and see what happens. So it takes a lot of pressure off to spend more. I think selling Mitrovic in the summer makes a lot more sense now. Of maybe there was some writing on the wall of like, you guys got to get your houses in order, and there's some stuff coming down the pike. And Fulham said, all right, well, let's get while the getting's good and get as much as we can for Mitro, and 50 for Mitro, or 60, like it was $60 million, maybe 50 something million pounds. That makes a lot more sense looking at what's happened to Everton, what's happened to Forest, and kind of what's going on in the league. So I don't think Fulham need to sell. That's not the vibe that I get. I don't think they have a ton of room to buy, but they'll just kind of hang out, which is annoying. I think there's room for Fulham to push forward, but if it's that or a 10-point deduction and a FFP charge, then 13th to 14th.
I'm sure it helps that, the bottom of the league looks so dismal.
Yeah.
And then you have Everton and, Forest getting in further trouble. So it's not like Fulham probably doesn't feel like if we got to buy if we're going to stay up or anything like that. They can kind of like ride the stuff. What did you think of the League Cup, by the way? And what do you think about the reverse fixture? I never got a chance to talk to you about that.
I'd say on this podcast all the time that normally matches like this against teams at the top of the table are not a free hit, because there's no such thing as a free hit really, but are kind of like, let's see if we can get a scalp. And if you lose, oh well. But a semifinal of the League Cup, that's out the window. So it was incredibly disappointing to lose like they did, to get a goal first and to be in the driver's seat and then to give up two bang bang like that. That was a gut punch. But if you told any Fulham fan before the match, you're going to go down one and then have the second leg at Craven Cottage down one with everything to play for, we'd have taken it.
Probably.
After you score the first goal, you say, no, we're going to win. We're going to score 6. And then, but before the game started, you take it. Down one, come back to Craven Cottage, all to play for, you take it. So they're in as good a spot as you can hope for. And I'm excited. I think you put the full strength team out and hope that Liverpool are tired from this weekend and have to rotate in the weekend I don't know. It's exciting. It's fun.
Yeah, meanwhile, Liverpool is on the same boat. I think we were just talking this morning. What the hell happened to Andre? Like, this guy was being talked about nonstop for like 2 months. And then January, he's in like witness protection program. Like, there's nobody to be found. Like, is he going to go there? Is he going to here? I don't think Liverpool is going to sign him anymore, especially with the price going up, because Endo, kind of like the resurgence of Endo. And like you're saying, it's freaking like middle of January over here. So they're going to be back in 2 weeks. So why... Unless they see him as a future, because I mean, Ando with his age is obviously kind of like a stopgap for that position. But maybe you wait till summer now and do what you really want. If you had another name to go after and stuff, save the best for last for money over here. So Sully, I'm sure all those Newcastle fans who sold their soul to oil and were like, you know what, we're just gonna be just like City now. Money is gonna be flying everywhere. Are they now? Wait, what is this FFP that you speak of? Because now, I mean, I even read that they might sell a couple of players to kind of balance the books.
Yeah, and the biggest transfer. So I'll get to that, because the biggest transfer we're looking at right now is Calvin Phillips. We bring in Calvin Phillips, we might as well just like forfeit the next 5 games, because that's going to be an FFP violation in itself, given his wages. Like, just don't show up. I don't know. When Alan sent that message through about Arsenal and Isak, like, part of me gets it. Part of me understands it. I wouldn't be shocked. I really, really wouldn't be shocked. I think Newcastle is very, very gun shy right now, and we can't even take advantage of this exodus from Saudi Arabia that's going on right now. And no Premier League team seems like they can. I mean, Jordan Henderson going to Ajax, Benzema not even looking at the Premier League. And those are just 2 names that have been floating around. I think we're going to see a massive amount of players trying to get out of those Saudi contracts very shortly here. And they're going to go to other leagues, Serie A, Bundesliga, Eredivisie, La Liga, because I don't think those La Liga financial fair play. Like, give me a break. Like, just pull some levers and we're gonna
Didn't
activate
Barca
the
sell-
money.
rules, yeah.
Barca sold another 49% of their TV. That's like 190% that they've sold. I don't understand how this works.
Well,
their math
Alex,
doesn't
don't worry. Jesse Lindegaard offered them his services, so help is on the way.
Another financial lever.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Another financial lever.
So wait, does Isak? I saw that, and I'm like, no way, because even if you do have to sell, I mean, that's probably one of your biggest building blocks. One of the things that you've done the most right, if that makes any sense. Why would you sell that guy?
Because I think he's the only guy we get money for at this point. I think Bruno's form has really dropped off. We're not going to get rid of Gordon, who we just splashed cash for. Our defense, while it is solid, is far too old to be commanding the type of money we would need to bring in. We can't flip trips for that anymore.
No.
I mean, we could never flip Dan Burn for that.
Botman, back to Fulham. We'll take him back.
Yeah. Botman, maybe. Share getting old. Sell Wilson. Can Wilson even walk to the discussion tables at this point? That man's hamstring is held together.
Pushing him over there.
Yeah, like it's held together by like gravy at this point.
Weekend
like,
at Bernie's.
Seriously,
Yeah.
seriously. Like I don't know who else we would flip. I really don't. He's our only player that I think is valued as a star player right now. We don't want to get rid of Lewis Miley. He's young. He's got time to improve. Lewis Hall, again, young, time to improve. Livramento, I think he's too critical because he can play too many positions. I think we should have offloaded Almiron. I think that would have been somebody who you flip, sort of like St. Maxim. You flip them when they are hot because they might turn back into a pumpkin at some point. So, I mean, Isak's the only one who's been
St. Maxim right now, by the way.
Saudi Arabia.
I don't know.
Well, you did go there.
Okay. What team is he with? Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the teams. One of the teams.
A team that he'll probably be leaving here too. Once you see the rest of his compatriots leaving, like, oh yeah, it's a sham.
And again, going back to that sort of point, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens sort of with the scales for Europe in terms of top leagues. If all of these players who left the Prem to go to Saudi Arabia, then leave Saudi Arabia and sort of disperse amongst the other leagues, there could be some very high quality teams coming out in the next year or so, but remains to be seen. Either way, Newcastle's we're not buying anybody. We've been linked with Kimmich. We're not buying him. Solanke, we're not buying him. There's nobody, I'd love to bring some of our guys back from loan. Your Garang Cool would be really interesting to see. And what's his face? I just had it up. Yankuba Mente, but unfortunately he's playing for the illustrious national side of the Gambia right now at African Cup of Nations. Dark horse. That's going to be my Tonali pick for AFCON Gambia.
AFCON dark pick.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
Steve says
we're
Almiron would have been a good sale if someone may remember his form from earlier this year. I like him as it's a guy. I think in the Discord chat, I think our Paul Bickler was saying, he's a guy that's hard to dislike because he puts in the effort. It's almost like you bring your little brother to the game, and he's trying really hard. He might not do everything you want, but you can't blame the efforts kind of a player. But somebody would pay for that work rates, I would think. Just not enough. I don't know.
Him coming off the bench, I think, would be an elite move for a top level team. He comes off your bench, that's a hell of a sub to have.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he plays 95 minutes for Newcastle most games the way we've been looking. So we'll see. We've lost talk with De Gea, so I don't think we're bringing anybody in. I wouldn't be shocked if people leave though.
Yeah, I mean that's like the weird thing with Newcastle. I think that it's even more dangerous in their scenario. Like you look at Fulham, for example. It's not like they planned on Champions League money and acted accordingly, right? So your budget is already set and it didn't fluctuate. If anything, Villa is reversed. They might not have counted on that and they might get that now. Whereas Newcastle, I can see them saying, thinking big, dreaming big, thinking of the oil money and stuff. And now it doesn't look like top four is going to happen. So now it puts you in a more difficult situation. But so Shay, let's come to you on this.
Mhm.
So what is your overall feel when you see the Everton Forest thing again? I mean, part of me likes it, but part of me feels like because of the City thing in the background, it's almost like being pulled over, going like 47 on a 45, and then like City is flying by, going like 110 miles an hour in their Ferrari, and you're like, what the fuck? Like,
You were the one that he caught up to. I literally saw a video. What was it was on Facebook or Instagram. Like, it was this biker minding his own
You were
business,
last on the
had
line.
the GoPro, and like all these other motorcycles fly by him. He had nothing to do involved with them. He's literally just sitting there. He's pointing at the cop. The cop pulls him over because like, you were the one standing here. He's like, I had nothing to do with it. Obviously, he got out of the ticket, but I'm just saying, like, that's how it reminds me of. It's like Everton and Forest are that guy. Like, he was just there minding his business. They're like, oh, the one that was actually guilty. Don't worry about it. We've set a date. Just don't know when. We set a date. Just keep that in mind.
don't worry about when it is.
But Everton and Newcastle this weekend, time's up, buddy. That's all I know. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's so inconsistent. And now, like you said, like all these teams are scared to spend money now because like they're punishing the normal teams, where the teams that have gotten away with this, that's fine. Because literally, like Chelsea and City should be the top two, like getting investigated for this. Like, what are you doing? And nothing's happening with them. And just now you see what they're going to do. Are they going to do another points deduction again to Everton? That would just be honestly the funniest blow, like twice in one season. And then Forest just kind of being like, hey, you're tied in with it. You're going to have to get punished too. We can't just have one person getting in trouble.
Yeah, I was saying it this morning. Reminds me of like, you know, like Walking Dead or something like that, where they think they killed a zombie, and then he just like just starts to get going again, and then FFP comes in and just like throws the knife in the skull and then calls it dead. That's what it reminds. I mean, it will be like the nail in the coffin. Alex, where are you at, like mindset wise, when you read that news and stuff like that? Like, how do you think this FFP thing is gonna? I think like Fulham is one of those teams that I would assume would be happy to see this, having done things the right way.
Yeah, I think Fulham got relegated a few years ago, despite spending like 120 million pounds, and got sent down. And that summer of 2018-19 has hung over this club. Is still hanging over this club. And so like this stuff stays on your books for a long time. And so like it's finally coming off Fulham's books, and that has affected, if you're a team like Fulham, like that's affected how you spend. Is this sense of like, I can't spend this. And we saw. Who was it that was registered for West Ham a few years ago? And Sheffield United sued West Ham, Tevez. When Tevez came as registered, there was a lawsuit about that. Like there was tens and tens of millions of dollars that's exchanged here based on some of this stuff. So when Forest, last summer, 2 summers ago, signed, I think it was 27 players.
Yes.
Is anybody looking at that going
season,
like, this is above board. This is definitely in accordance with the rules. There's no way that they broke any rules here. We could all see it. And so for the Premier League to finally say, all right, let's get around to that. I'm a little less cynical, maybe, Shay. And to mention, I think that this could be part of the Premier League kind of crossing all T's and dotting all I's and taking away that defense from a City or a Chelsea to be able to, in court or arbitration or wherever, say, okay, well, yeah, but Forest signed 27 guys and Everton fucked around with their stadium financing. Why aren't you going after them? And now it's like systematically taking everything away. It looks like what the NCAA does when Alabama or Ohio State does something wrong, and we're like, we are so mad at Ohio State. Kent State is going to get it today.
I mean,
So it feels like that.
happened to my school in college. Ole Miss got absolutely boned by the NCAA. So like, I know.
Oh, I'm a USC. I went to Southern Cal. I know all about that. I know all about that whole world. But that's what it feels like. Is maybe they're saying, okay, let's cross every T here and make sure that we're nailing everybody. So when we hand down 100 and whatever odd charges, and Chelsea for next year are even more screwed. Because they budget for Champions League. They budget for that. And so definitely. Another year potentially likely finishing outside the top 4 or 5, that's catastrophic. So they're in deeper trouble than maybe is being reported on. But anyway, I'm hopeful that it is a kind of strategic path of finally we can nail these guys. We got to make sure we nail everybody.
Yep.
But that's the hope.
Shay, your ordeal is a little, Sully, your ordeal is a little different because our Newcastle fans now, who, like I say, maybe were okay with the Saudi thing, now are like, well, we kind of got screwed at the wrong time because it's not going to work out as planned. So are they like, now you guys are cracking up on FFP? Is there any sense of that? Or it's like, that's fine. We want to be even anyway. Because it almost felt like, I know we talked in the beginning of the season, right? You were saying, about time, we get some of that as well.
Mhm.
Well, now not so much.
I don't think there's a ton of talk about that. I think most Newcastle fans are sort of being like, don't look at us. Don't pay any attention to what's going on over here. Like, there's all these other things. Just worry about that. So I think we're just honestly trying to skate by right now. I kind of fall in between where Shay and Alex are at. I really hope the Premier League just crucifies City. Like, I hope this is like the SMU death sentence, to reference more college football. Like, I hope I hope they staple the pelt of Man City to the wall and are like, that's what happens when you F with FFP.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that too, Chelsea's not getting talked about.
Yeah.
There's nothing about Chelsea.
Yeah.
And honestly, if Newcastle's going to make any transfer and splash some cash, this winter, go get Chelsea's accountants. How have you hid all of this from FFP? Like, that's what you need to go get, like a fixer for your books, basically.
I really think though Chelsea is going to pay for it in the long run.
Yeah, they did it with that long-term contract.
Yeah, those baseball stuff works maybe in baseball where they're still paying a guy 10 years after he retired. But I think when you try to do that, that's going to really look goofy on your FFP 3 years down the road. Because like Alex is saying, these windows are like 3 years or whatever. So when they look in 3 years and you might not have half those guys, but you're still paying them the wages, it's going to be a different story. The thing that would save Chelsea, and that's what I want to ask you, Shay, is
if they're liquidated.
And that's the thing with Newcastle. That they might be able to sell a guy over there and say he's worth 150 million. Yeah. Try to balance the books, but with the Saudi league not going so hot and everybody running for their lives now, how do you think that affects it? Or will, as long as the wages are there, you can dump another set of players next summer?
Well, I think the only thing is for them. Like, I actually saw that today. I was gonna bring that up. So Chelsea are trying to do that crap. You know what they listed? What was his name? Armando Broja for $50 million.
Get out of town.
The guy has been injured this entire time, but yeah, he's worth 50.
Dude was a passenger on Saturday. He was a passenger.
The guy has been hurt the whole time. I'm sure he has promise and he's got potential, but to go ahead and put a $50 million price tag on this guy is crazy. So they're already trying to get ahead of that. Like, oh yeah, you want some more players? Here you go. Like, are you saying the baseball contracts are going to mess them up in the long run? In 3 to 4 years, they're going to get hit with it.
I think so too. How come Sully, your boys don't pull more of that? Or Almiron, he runs like a kid. $60 million.
I don't think we're used to being at the top and having to play these mind games yet. Chelsea's been the master at it for years, and Newcastle, it's like we just showed up. We don't know how to be criminals yet. We're getting there. We'll probably end up there eventually. However, like Tonali and with the betting, and Joe Linton with the drunk driving, that's our big criminal scandals. We don't know how to do actual crime yet. So give us a couple years. The project is still in the works.
It does kind of total different way, Alex. But what is your prediction on how the Saudi league pans out now and how it affects things? Especially this summer. Looks like it's not going to be much of a factor in January, but
I think we've hit the height of the market on that, and that was in August or whatever, where there was a mix of this could actually be a good thing, so players are willing to accept it. I think a lot of players, especially with Henderson, which who could have predicted? Oh my gosh,
shocker.
Who could have predicted this would go so badly? Oh no. But with guys like him and Ben's having genuinely really bad times, I think it's going to be a lot harder to convince players to actually accept that and go. There will be some mercenaries who say, $500 a week. So
yeah,
but I think it'll be a lot fewer of the top players that the big names that we saw. It'll be harder for players to offload. And Serzi, you're right. I think it will be difficult. The market has started to peak, and it will be difficult for Chelsea to offload those players.
And I think, but I mean, if you're giving 700,000, you're still going to find people who want to go there. Honestly, we were talking about this morning. Probably one of the reasons Hendo wanted back out is he probably wants to go to the Euros and stuff like that. So it's more like the national team than anything else. Ajax finds out, and I think the reason at least the rumor is, I don't know how much truth there is to that, is that they can't come back to the Premier League. Is if they come back, they get hit with taxes. So you go hang out in Amsterdam, chill, smoke some, play some, and then go to the Euros. I think is what basically he's trying to do. Extremely disappointed. I mean, we were talking about a lot of this morning. If he stayed, I think he would still have a role. But I think looking back at it now, it has turned out really good for Liverpool in return. So I guess we should be thankful. So let's look at this weekend's games. Is that it? Geesh, not a lot. Yeah. Yes, that is it.
That weekend.
Scrolling up or something. Arsenal, Palace, Brentford, Forest, Sheffield, West Ham, Bournemouth, and us. Brighton, Wolves. Like I say, it's only my boys in action. I kind of like already talked about it, hoping for like a 3-point, especially with the rest and stuff like that. And I don't think we'll do as much of a rotation. I think you go out to win this game and then see who's available against Fulham afterwards. But it is time for Tonali's picks. There you go. There is the future of Newcastle, straight from the casino. Almiron is going to be sitting right next to him pretty soon. Okay, so what do you have for your Tonali pick over here, Sully? Don't you dare look at the local.
I don't see that one. I think Wolves could take Brighton. Wolves form has been looking pretty good. Unfortunately, they're missing a lot of players with the Asian Cup going on. But I could see Wolves getting scrappy. Maybe Nottingham Forest has the FFP bounce back game against Brentford too. So I'll probably take Wolves though. I think Wolves is a decent pick. 2-1 Wolves over Brighton.
Alex, Tonali pick. What you got?
Yeah, Wolves is going to be my pick. And I still think I similarly agree with you, Sully. Wolves are kind of a weird team this year where they started off pretty dismal and then kind of caught up. But I do think that Bournemouth and at Liverpool is upset alert. I do put that on that list. I think Bournemouth are a weird, scrappy team. They just all of a sudden they're up in the mid-table. Just a weird team this year. So I would not be shocked if Bournemouth could result at home. There are only 10,000 of them there, and it's tight. And I just would not be shocked.
Yeah, I am worried about that. And I'll be honest with you. It's a team that can score. That probably worries about me the most. Yeah. Shay, what do you have?
Yep, I'll definitely go I'm gonna go with the house. I think Wolves will take it, but honestly, like how Sergi just said in the comments, Ivan Toney is back, and I feel like he's gonna come back with a vengeance and somehow probably score a hat trick just for giggles. Just be like, hey, I bet it on me again. Here's
for old time's sake. Honestly, based on Brentford's form, I don't even know Forest is an upset, but I really think Forest gets something out of there. Kind of like the reason, like Sully said too. I think kind of like this could be the impact that Everton had off of their first point deduction, where they tried really hard for it. So Shay, you got Wolves. Everybody's going with Wolves over there. I'll go with Forest for shit song. Yeah, 3-1. Actually, Sergi goes with that as well. It should be interesting, as long as it's not Alex's foreshadowing over there. I will be happy. And then we're back to our regularly scheduled programming where everybody starts playing again. And actually next Tuesday, those games are going to end up happening. Before we get on air, Fulham is going to play Everton. Villa is going to play Newcastle. So real quick, since that's going to be before we go on air, Alex, what do you think we're going to be talking about when we talk about that game next Wednesday?
Well, I think which one on Wednesday? On Fulham and
Everton. Next. Oh no,
maybe a week ahead. I care about Cups Wednesday.
Holy cow, we don't.
You were making me. I was like, did I miss a match here? I'm like, we got a lot going on Wednesday.
We got total silence, radio silence. So we'll be talking about the Fulham-Liverpool semifinal, I guess, then if we have to.
Yeah, I'm either going to be.
How do you think that's going to go?
I'm either going to be big sad or big glad. So that's my prediction.
That's a great prediction. That's the winner for finale.
You know me. Right, normally I come in pretty level-headed with this kind of stuff, but for the chance to go to Wembley, and I think this will be the first time for Fulham, if they can win this and go to Wembley, since the 74-75 FA Cup. Like this is a big freaking deal for Fulham. And it's the League Cup, and a lot of teams say, yeah, whatever, but like this is a big deal. So this is the biggest match for
Alex. You guys were in Wembley a couple years ago when we beat you in the championship playoff. Just remember that.
Yeah. I think I remember John Terry
But
crying.
you guys also beat us too, so it
I
kind of
distinctly remember John Terry crying.
We've both been there.
And Fulham beat Brentford at Wembley, but to play in a cup final for a legitimate piece of silverware is not something that happens a lot to Fulham. It's been 50 years almost. So this is a big deal, and I think
let's hope that you make that 51 for you.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah, I mean, Fulham has been tough every single time. I mean, even the home game, we had to come back with like some ridiculous goals and stuff. I just feel like there is that naivety, like very naive the way they go about playing against Liverpool. If they play like that, I'm hoping Liverpool will get some away goals and will, get something out of it. But it's definitely not like a done and dusted kind of a thing. I would have loved the secured like a 3-0 win or something like that at home, and obviously it never came up.
And that was the scary thing after those 2 goals. Quick went in for Liverpool. Was like, all right, you're up 1-0. The world is there, and then you get 2 quick ones. And you're like, this could get to 3-4-1, and then the tie's over. So to keep it at 2-1 was not a win for Fulham, but like as far as things could have gone, like going 1 down back to Craven Cottages, that's all you can hope for. So
I think it is. I mean, if we had time, I was going to ask you guys about that, but obviously we're not going to have a lot of games, so we can talk about that. I was going to ask your guys' take because we were talking on a different show regarding like the away goals, and now that they're gone, kind of helps teams. I think it has improved. I know the intentions were good, but it never materialized. I feel like you watch these cup games, and it's not like death when the away team scores and stuff like that. So, but we will be back next Wednesday. Hopefully I'll be smiling and Alex won't be. And we'll talk about the games. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you guys next week.